Welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer and Larry, and we're going to be discussing episode number 9 of Your Honor. There's only one left. We're at the end. If you've not hit the sub button, please do so. Hit the bell so you'll be notified when we post the final review for this episode. Also, know we have a lot of other content on the channel. Leave a comment, leave a like. So, Adam. You know, I bring it up almost every single week. His decision making is quite bad. God, man. You know, so he's dating, he's in love with the girl whose brother he killed. His teacher is jealous. Now, that's not completely his fault. I'm not going to blame the teacher situation on him, but I am going to blame him running to Charlie and now involving him in the situation. We're left at the end of the episode with Jimmy Baxter wanting to meet his daughter's boyfriend, him knowing that it's Adam. Where the hell does this all go? We have one episode left. Adam's decisions are constantly poor. What happens?
Well, the one I thought was the funniest out of the things you just mentioned was Fia just getting the command from her dad. Be like, hey, yeah, let's meet him right now. So for her to listen to that statement and be like, yeah, this is a good idea, has zero regard for Adam's well-being. But you know, Adam constantly fucking up and being misinformed, and God, I don't know. I mean, it's great acting and it's well done. I'm just like, on a personal level, I'm just like, I don't know how he keeps fucking up. And you know, the teacher stuff, like, that was brilliantly done. And she's misguided. Something's wrong with her also, you know, fall in love with an underage child, which she did like a year ago. This isn't like a brand new relationship. She's been close with them. The mom died when he was 16, and that's when they met and started falling in love and dating and stuff. So he was even younger then. And this episode was full of little twists and turns, and we talked about it prior to this. How the hell this has to be a season 2 or some kind of spin-off show with Adam and Charlie. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm glad you segued there, because you know it really does fit talking about the whole dinner and thing, because I wonder if his actions will lead to, because that also segues to Thea's conversation with her dad and the story that they argued about, which is the story of Abraham and his sacrifice of his son. You know, like, is that what we're gonna see? Is Michael gonna be so cornered that, you know, he finally gives up the ghost, and to save himself, you know, once everything's figured out, he just like, I'm just wondering, because, you know, we have, yes, like, they're good about doing allegories on this show. Well, not so much allegories, but about foreshadowing what's going to come. And we got a story of, you know, of a man sacrificing his son. And, you know, is that the only thing that he could possibly do to save himself in this, or will this play into a bigger way or into deeper machinations in which, you know, now that his son is, you know, has dealings with the Baxters, where he can make it look like, oh no, they were blackmailing me, they were using my son, you know, Jimmy Baxter was going to kill my son, I had no choice, you know, if he gets caught, you know. But either way, Adam's actions are incredibly foolish, like you said, and one of them, you know, it was stupid from his point of view, knowing what he knows, to tell his godfather about what was going on with his teacher, given the fact that she knows, because he doesn't know that Charlie knows the whole situation. So yeah, exactly. That was foolish on his part, but it may be one of those few things that saves him. So there's so many angles at play here.
Well,
go ahead.
Brian, like, that was one of my favorite scenes in the whole episode, was when Charlie and Adam were talking. Not only just because it was brilliantly acted, we've already seen some of the links that Charlie's willing to go through. And this is just one more of those things that he's willing to do, shows how crooked he is. And We're starting to see some of that with Michael. Well, they're implying some of it with Michael. They haven't really confirmed a lot of it yet.
Well, let's go into that. Let's go straight into that. The stuff with Michael, because like you were saying, Larry, talk about sacrificing their child, and we've always assumed that Michael was on the up and up, at least in the early stages of this, and we've seen him descend into this criminal guy and someone willing to do bad things. But we continually keep getting reminded about the death of his wife, Robin. And in this episode, we got another little piece of that puzzle, that she was apparently having an affair of some kind. What that means, I don't know. I know, Spencer, you have a theory. I'm not against your theory at all, only because why introduce this element so late in the game unless you're setting up a potential season 2 storyline? But go ahead and talk about your theory.
Well, we talked about it early on, like what happened. And this episode to me shows it's drawn a lot of parallels between the way Michael acts and what he's willing to do. I think that he probably found out about the affair, just like when we talked about it when he went to go destroy the video footage at the gas station. We're like, is he telling like a true story? And I think he was. And I think that he probably had his wife killed. I think that once he found out about it, he was so pissed off that he probably had her killed. And to me, that shows how big of a piece of shit Michael is, because he was with Lee that whole time. The senator mentioned that intern. So even if you just look at intern, how long ago that probably could have been, because she's one of the kind of premier lawyers at her law firm now. I mean, she got in trouble and they're mad at her, but from going from an internship to a premier position at a law firm doesn't happen overnight. So how long ago was she his intern, where they were fucking around then? So for him to completely lose it, and then this is all me drawing conclusions and stuff. This isn't anything that's been confirmed. So, but for him to go through all these steps to do all this to her when he was 100% as guilty way before that, I'm really curious as to find out whether or not he was the one that had her killed.
Yeah, and that's interesting. And given the way that Michael's maneuvered this whole situation, prior to this episode, I would say that's crazy. But given what we've seen in this episode, it's possible. It's very possible. And in fact, I think if he did it, it was much like he's navigating, this whole situation, that he didn't do it directly, that it wasn't somehow set up via, just him maneuvering people, that he got into some trouble maybe, and it's like, because the affair, like you said, it came up so late and in this series, and I'm just curious, like you said, what are the implications to that? And it's clearly got to have some deeper effect on the show to be brought up this late in the series. It's hard to believe we have one episode left, given all the loose strings we have here.
There were so many setups in this episode alone for potential season 2 storylines, which I'm hoping is the case, that it is in fact a setup for season 2. Joey and Carlo, friends since kindergarten. These are two of the dumbest, most dumbass guys. Like, I mean, just like both of them. I mean, we already knew this. Carlo comes from a really rich, background, and he wants to get into crime, and he's super racist asshole guy. And you would assume that he would surround himself with other, assholes, and he does. Joey's turning rat because they're basically trying to kill him. But Michael drugs him. Now that caught me off guard. At first I was like trying to figure out what exactly was going on with the water, but I was like, holy shit, I didn't think he was actually drugging him. And then the last thing before you guys start, Carlo and his lawyer. Like, are you that fucking dumb? Like, he's helping you. He's trying to help you, but you don't want to, say that you were afraid. It's like, all right, bitch, like, I'm sorry, but what the hell, dude? I was just sitting there, like, Jimmy's in the back, just like pulling his hair out. He doesn't know what to do. I don't, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing to see how dumb Carlo actually was, because it's like he clearly doesn't understand the implications of what his lawyer is telling him. And it's like, oh, do you want to save face or do you want to go to jail for the rest of your life, man? What do you want? And it's
exactly. It is. Tell him you want me to tell him I was mad? No. Bad? No. Bad? No, man, I ain't no bitch. Like, it's the whole sequence. Like you said, Larry, it's the funniest thing is that he's trying to save face with who? Like, he's not a badass yet. He's not this established criminal empire yet. So who is he saving face in front of? There's no one for him to save face to. Like, it's just him being an entitled shithead thinking he's way more badass than he actually is.
It feels like if Joey from Friends got into organized crime. He's just that stupid.
How you doing?
Damn. What did you guys think that was going on with the shoes and the water and all that? Did you pick up on the fact that he drugged him, or did it surprise you? I'm just curious.
It surprised me. Like, I thought he was trying to get a tail for some reason, like, because he was coaching him. It's like, when you get nervous, sip the water. I was curious what that was about, whether he was trying to see how much he actually. I thought at that point he was going to ask him some questions about what he actually knows, especially given the conversation he had with Jimmy Baxter earlier. That he was trying to see if this kid actually knew that Kofi wasn't driving the car and etc. Like, he was trying to figure out how much he had on him.
Oh no, go ahead, Larry.
Well, yeah, I was just finishing up by saying that's what I thought the water was about. I didn't think it was I'm going to drug him. I thought it was like, I'm using this as sort of a lie detector here and now in this moment while I'm having this private conversation with this person.
I agree. I thought initially I did not think that he was drugging him. I thought that, like you said, I thought he was coaching him. Like, hey, if you start to get nervous, just do this, and I'll kind of lead him away from that comment. Like you said, I thought he was coaching him, not trying to literally. I don't know if he killed him or what, because I didn't know what those pills were. So I don't know if he.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I don't know what kind of damage he did, but it's funny for him to basically re-OD on whatever, and it's going to look like he just still had stuff in his system, and it's not even going to point towards the judge or anybody else. And that was brilliantly done. But then the detective, like, looking and like, what the hell is going on? She's finally putting the pieces together, and the whole courtroom scene was so well done that it's just implicating so many things going forward.
Well, Michael's so smart because he knew they got it. They pulled him right from the street. So there was no time to take him to the hospital, and they wanted him to look rough. So they didn't fix his leg. They didn't, check, they knew he'd been doing drugs and stuff. So you're right. Michael realized this and was like, look, I could drug him, and they wouldn't know that he didn't have that in his system prior. So he played it to his advantage.
And I think I pinpointed the moment where he came up with that plan was when he saw the leg, because he's like, oh, right. They didn't fix him up, but they likely gave him painkillers for this. So if I drug him with, whatever painkillers or whatever I have in my office, then it'll look like he just, took too many painkillers. So that's probably what he did. He probably just pulled some something to deal with pain from his desk, and that way it's believable when they try to figure out what was in his system.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Because I'm assuming what he was on was heroin, just because that's what they were trying to sell, and some of the symptoms he was showing and mannerisms and stuff. And a lot of painkillers still, for whatever reason, are very opioid heavy. So for, them taking it that route, Larry, that's a good kind of little piece together there. That makes a lot of sense.
Eugene is stepping up. He, has a little meeting with Big Mo and the Desire crew, and they figure out, he's really good with math and doing it in his head. And, he's thinking about the future of not only himself, but of the crew he's a part of, and thinking about how to grow them. And he lays out sort of this plan. He's like, cleaning the money using churches, which to me is a complete setup for a second season, because I could see a scenario where They're trying to go legit a little bit, get more money processed through. I'm not going to bring The Wire up again, but there's a similar plot line. But also we know that Charlie potentially is going to be mayor soon, and if he is, say in season 2, uh, it would be hard for him not to be involved or know what's going on with this situation. We also had a name drop in Rudy. Who's Rudy? We know he's a dirty cop, and we also know that Charlie has communications with the dirty cops. That's how he got the car taken. All this shit connects. That's why I think there has to be a season 2. But Eugene is also confronted by Lee, who basically has proof that Kofi did not, in fact, drive that car that day. What does Eugene do with this information? I don't know. A lot going on with that character. He had multiple scenes this week, and I really think they're setting him up for a potential season 2 storyline.
I agree.
Well, I'll say this much: if everything gets pieced together, this episode, and if Lee figures it all out, between Lee and Detective, I remember the name, but I'm having a hard time pronouncing it right now. It starts with a C.
Costello or
Costello. Yes, it is Costello. Like
Nancy Costello.
Yeah, if they figure the whole thing out between them and everything that's tied together, and yet they still have the nerve to present this evidence, that incriminates the Baxters, the Desire Gang, the judicial system, the police, and everything. If they still have the courage to do this, is like my God, it's like they have some serious nerve, because I think most people would figure out all the ties that are involved in what this thing ballooned into, and think to themselves, like, there's no way I survive bringing this to court. There's too many fingers in this pie. So it's like, how do they react when they figure out the scope of this thing? Because it's gotten so massive. There's so many people involved, and it's like, if there's too many parties, and it's all people, like, there's nobody involved who's not a danger to them in some way.
I don't know. The DA from ER, she seems like a pretty headstrong individual. I don't know that she's going to be deterred by who all is involved at this point. It'd be in her best interest to be, but she's a very headstrong individual, and I don't know that anyone's going to deter her from trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
That's another great Fiona. The prosecutor. Between her and Nancy, these are two characters, and Lee, arguably. I don't see them giving up on this. You know what I mean? Like, them in particular. So depending on what they learn, we'll question what goes down. But then again, I don't, like you said, Larry. This is so deep, and there's so many pieces to this that this would be something where the feds would get involved if all this came out. Like, this would be a big deal if, in fact, all the revelations came out.
Yeah, and it's the sort of thing, like, if I was Lee, I'd submit this evidence, and then I would leave town forever.
Yeah, because I don't know that he is like Jimmy. I don't know that he has reaches outside of his area. I mean, there is gangsters that their reach is probably a little farther, but what they've shown so far doesn't lead me to believe that his is much outside of the area, only because he got so pissed at Carlos when he was trying to go into the like drug business. So like his seems to be more local and like racketeering, where the Desire Gang is dealing with other people, drug trafficking. So I think in the end, they probably would have more influence than Jimmy would. So I am curious to see if anybody just tries to run and what happens to them.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because Jimmy, like you said, Jimmy seems to have a lot of local, interest and whatnot, but, Desire, that may be a little more national, and who's to say if, as we mentioned before, what Jimmy's wife's connections are, because she seems very used to a mob lifestyle also.
Well, I don't want to stereotype, but they specifically went out of their way to point out that she was the Italian.
Yeah,
Huh.
And the show did this, so I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to stereotype, but the show went out of its way to distinguish that Jimmy was Scottish and that the mother was Italian. So, in which, we were talking about earlier in the series how she seemed to be running things. Is it potentially that she has more ties elsewhere, and that Baxter sort of came into this thing and sees power, or they share power, but could there be another family element where other crime organizations get involved and people she knows? I don't know. I thought that was an interesting line of dialogue, and it did stick out to me.
Well, yeah, and it's the sort of thing where she steps on Jimmy's toes in a particular way that you'd imagine with his temper you could only do if you were untouchable. So it seems like the sort of thing where she's doing business behind his back and making these deals, and he now knows about this, and there were like no consequences whatsoever, for anyone other than the one character who is not a part of this family, and that may be for a reason. Because it's like, okay, all right, if you cross your wife, then you have to deal with her connections. And they're not going to like this because she's from this old crime family.
Well, and that could be exactly where they're going. Maybe Jimmy dies at the end of this one or goes to prison or whatever because of Michael finally turning on him. And then, Gina runs the family from now on. Like, there's so much that can happen for season 2 that I'm genuinely fingers crossed.
Yeah, now they've also openly mentioned the possibility of Gina herself going to jail, and if she gets implicated with this whole thing, it's like, yeah, what could happen? There's so much there's so much material for another season of this show, and maybe you shift it a little bit. Maybe it follows some different characters and some of the old characters, but we're dealing with a different story because there's a lot they could follow here, But yeah, we still follow Charlie's political career and and some of the Baxter stuff and some of the Desire Crew stuff. There's just
let's go into Charlie again. So Charlie just had a bomb dropped on him at the end of the episode. He was in there trying to help out Adam. We know Charlie's involved in a little of this, a little of that, but Charlie did not know, and we have confirmation now. Charlie didn't know that Adam was the one that killed Rocco. But now that he knows, he's going to be, you could see him doing it in that scene. You could see it in his eyes. You could see it in the performance. He worked out the whole situation. He remembers getting rid of the car, the whole thing with Kofi. It all, I think he knows now completely.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is he going to do?
Yeah.
What is his next step?
He had enough pieces to know everything. And now, like, he knows it wasn't Michael, and that was his thought. Oh, this was Michael. This will be easy to cover up. And now he's probably even a little mad at Michael because, like the teacher mentioned, it's harder to deal with this sort of thing, given the fact that, that Adam is 17 and seemingly very much his mother's son in the sense that, he has, like, he seems to be ruled by impulse to a degree, much like his mother.
The teacher wasn't completely wrong in that scene where they were sitting on the stoop, where she was basically saying, look, yeah, she's handling it wrong, but she was basically like, this is a weird situation you're putting yourself in. I don't really think it's true love. You need to be careful. Now, obviously, there's jealousy and there's other elements at work here, but during that scene, I was thinking, yeah, Adam, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, and not only that, but there's a deeper level there too. The fact that, especially given, and I think she'll follow through with it, especially given the sort of double talk conversation that she had with with Gina. Gina's the daughter, right?
Fia.
Okay, so Fia's, yeah, the sort of double speak she had with Fia about liking her shoes and and choices and everything, where clearly she's sensing the fact that she'd prefer to be in Fia's shoes, so I feel like she would go through with telling Fia, and that maybe she doesn't understand the breadth of who the Baxters are, because if she gives a crap about Adam in the slightest, she wouldn't tell Fia the situation, because if she knew who the Baxters were, she'd know that, okay, well, then that probably means that Adam's going to die. Because like she thinks, oh, yeah, they're the family that owns this oyster company and has a hotel. And, that seems to be all she knows about them. And the fact that she feels spurned and she's angry and she's likely going to tell these things, this could be what blows everything up. And I really just wonder if Charlie, now having the full picture, now in fact knowing about her jealousy and everything, if or how obsessed she is with Adam, if Charlie's going to handle this situation in some way and go and think to himself, oh no, this woman's got to die, because if she doesn't, this whole thing falls apart and everything unravels. And holy shit, what are we going to do about Adam? Because Adam, I'm sure Charlie understands that Adam is very much like his mother and has probably incriminated himself to a certain degree already. Because we see the pictures with Adam's mother that give us a very big hint at another way she likely died. Just taking pictures of Desire crew members doing what they do out in the open, and them clearly not liking that idea given the nature of their business. So yeah, it's gotten more complex in a way, but there's another way that things can be tied up now that Charlie is in the know about things.
Well, I thought that as soon as Charlie got involved with it, I was like, well, she's dead.
Yeah.
He made it through the end of this episode, surprised the shit out of me. I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe not. And then the way he went off on her and kind of put it down for her, be like, look, you do this, it's not going to be his life that you ruin. You're going to ruin your own. Because in all reality, the minor in that kind of situation that's being preyed upon by a teacher during a time of grief, Adam's not going to get in any kind of trouble. And it can be like she was a spurned ex-lover and she's just putting this on him. It's so easy to get around, and he made her realize that she's in a pretty fucked situation, whereas Adam's not.
Ooh, and I just thought, given that they were together that day and everything, and would they have the evidence to spin it to make it look like, yeah, they were doing this, and Adam in fact lied to his dad, quote unquote, and she was driving the car that day, and I'm just saying they could pin this whole thing on her essentially. She was with Adam. Adam's trying to protect her, because they're having this this weird messed up relationship, and Adam's trying to protect her and doesn't want her to go to jail, so he lied and told his father he was driving the car. His dad didn't know anything about it. I'm just saying there's a way they could spin it because of her, but it's very complex, and everything, it feels like in this show, no matter how they spin things, that the truth's going to come out on some level. And
I wouldn't rule that out. I mean, I don't know if there's enough time, but the way this show plays,
well, yeah, and that's kind of why I stopped, because it's like we got an hour left, so it's like that could be an angle we played if we had 3 hours left in the show.
The episode, and the episodes range from 51, 52 minutes to 60, 61. So we possibly only have 50 minutes left. We don't know. I don't know what the final episode count will be. But yeah, that's shit. I mean, one episode.
What I do know for a fact is that the actor who plays Charlie, whose name escapes me, it's I don't remember, something Whitlock or something, but he plays an amazing crooked politician.
That's he's getting typecast at this point, but yeah.
Okay.
He's doing a great job here.
Shit.
I know, man.
Let me guess, a Wire reference that I don't know?
You're damn right. And I'm not going to go into it. Yeah, great in The Wire.
You just unknowingly made a Breaking Bad reference.
Which one?
You're damn right.
Oh. The senator, Robin's mom. She's popped up a couple times here and there. She was in last week's episode at the dinner for Adam, getting the NYU acceptance. And this week, quick little scene, basically, being told that, about the affair and this and that. I think she knows more shit than we think. I don't know. I've had suspicions about that character from the beginning. Something seems off. I don't know what exactly. I'm not saying she had anything to do with Robin's death, but necessarily, but I don't know. She seems like someone who would have no issues covering up some really dark shit in order to keep her career. Do you get that vibe, or is it I'm just looking
When
too much into it?
no, I think when they showed that this was going on, there's all these pictures, and then does Adam know? She may have very well, and I still think Michael did it, but if Michael was able to spin it to her that she was fucking one of these guys from Desire Crew and they killed her, she would want to cover that up. She would not want it to be known that her daughter was hanging out with gang members and then doing those kind of things. So Michael may have originally even spun it to her that it was way different than it was, just to kind of get the heat off of him. But I guarantee that she, like you said, it seems as though she knows more, and I agree. I think that she does know more. Now, whether she knows the truth or not, I don't think she does. I think Michael is playing that on a whole different level, but I do think that she does know, has a much greater indication as to what happened to.
Well, yeah. It's either that or part of this is going to help her figure out some things, and and maybe piece things together currently, because they went to great efforts to show us in the episode where she's introduced how smart she is and how good she is at piecing things together. So it's like we don't know how much of the story she has now either, and it's significant because they keep showing this character. If it's not significant, other than that one awkward episode where they're ducking her to some degree, I'm not. I really don't see too much significance of showing her this unless it's going to play until the next episode in some way,
Or next season.
Yeah.
Hopefully it gets picked up. I really hope it does. Well, as we said, there's one episode left. Is there anything else you want to discuss with episode number 9 before we wrap this up?
Just how great was that look of surprise on Charlie's face when he finds out that it's Adam.
Dude, that's what I said. His performance, I could see in his performance him figure everything out right then. Like that was just a great scene. They both did a great job, but he came in there and basically was, taking care of business, and then bam, I described it. A bomb went off in his face. Holy shit.
Yeah, exactly. You just see the weight of it in his face. Honestly, just his understanding of what's going on and him piecing things together. Yeah, it is an awesome performance.
I'm glad I had my microphone muted for a second because I didn't want to get us in trouble for singing "Taking Care of Business." As soon as you said it, I was like humming it in my head.
Yeah. So yeah, anything else, guys?
No,
yeah,
sir.
I think that's it.
Hell of a show. Can't wait to see next week's season finale. We will be covering it in full, so definitely tune in for that breakdown of that episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.